this is such an amazing piece of literature, and it's hard to say what it is. Is it a dialogue?
Right.
Is it some kind of a narrative that has a dialogue embedded in it?
Uh-huh.
I kind of like that
That's
alternative
nice,
better.
yeah.
And the two speakers are, number one, the Ampelourgos. I prefer to call him that because any translation will fall flat.
Right.
Call him a vineyard groundskeeper.
Uh-huh.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Or a vine dresser. Well, nobody knows what a
that
vine
is.
dresser is today. It's just somebody who works in a vineyard.
Right.
Can't we just say that?
What are the connotations of that for
Well,
this
that
text?
he really is responsible for a sacred space, and
Right.
that sacred space is not nature, because it's nature with culture imposed on it.
Right,
So
right.
the trees may be in order,
Uh-huh.
and there are all sorts of things that
So that may be a part of what he does, is to order nature in a
is to
beautiful
order
way.
nature,
Okay.
and just to be responsible for
Uh-huh.
the sacred grounds, to make sure that nobody who is not qualified
Right.
goes in.
Yep.
And we'll soon see that he, in a sense, initiates the other speaker, who's non-Greek, in the sense that he's a Phoenician, although his Greek is really good. And the subtext of this is that in the era when this was composed, the person who composed it was a protege of Julia Domna, who was part of the first Semitic Roman emperor family.
Wow. Yeah.
And
So Phoenician is
Phoenician
valued.
is like Mr. and Ms. Semitic.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty timeless.
Uh-huh.
So although I just said, the era of Julia Domna, which would be the early part of the 3rd century CE,
Uh-huh.
there are a lot of things here that fit perfectly in even 5th century BCE,
Right.
or I venture to say 6th century
Right.
BCE.
So the Phoenician is a thoroughly Hellenized Phoenician.
Totally.
Yep.
And it turns out he knows his Homer better than the Ampelourgos
Yep.
knows his Homer.
Okay.
The only qualification that the Ampelourgos has is he is the person who takes care of the sacred space. He's been initiated into the mysteries of the hero
Yep.
who inhabits, who dwells in this sacred space
Right.
called Protesilaos. And by virtue of that, he'll know things that the Phoenician doesn't know. And so it's time for the Phoenician to balance his understanding of the hero. He knows a lot about the epic side of the hero. He knows nothing about the cult side of the hero.
So it's pan-Hellenic and local in a certain sense.
In a certain sense.
Yes,
And the Phoenician is much, much more cosmopolitan than the
That's good. That's good.
quote-unquote native Greek
Right.
Ampelourgos.
Okay.
And at the beginning, they're very polite with each other, and xenos just means, one of us is a guest, one of us is a host, and we'll play it by the rules.
Right.
And one of the first things that the Phoenician says is, I am longing to learn. And this word pothos,
Well, that's a
and
heavy
this
word.
profane, it's
Yes.
not just, I desire to learn. It literally means I have an erotic urge, practically. So
Right.
the intellectual drive is metaphorized as an erotic drive.
Right.
Learning is sexy, so to speak, and
Right.
that's what he's all about. And he really wants to know everything about heroes. And it turns out, as somebody who's already internalized the Homeric Catalogue of Ships, which for our readers was the biggest obstacle I
To
would
reading,
think,
yes.
when
Just
our
a-
readers were doing their first reading,
Right.
trying to go fast through everything.
Right.
I kept encouraging them, don't
Don't-
lose heart.
don't get stuck.
I know the catalog is, but look at him. He
He-
thinks the catalog is the best thing.
He's
as we'll see in a
internalized the
minute.
whole of it. Yes.
Totally.
Yep.
And,
Okay.
and so what he now wants to do is to get the details, because it turns out he's stuck. The winds aren't blowing in the right direction, so he can't sail on his business. Therefore, he has to stay. And who's the first person he should meet when he gets off the boat just to look around, but the Ampelourgos. So Ampelourgos says, "Come on, I'll show you. I'll show you this beautiful place."
Right.
And the rest is what turns out to be an initiation.
Wow. Neat.
And isn't it wonderful? The first question he asks is, were they beautiful? Were the heroes of the Trojan War beautiful,
Right.
as they are said to be in song? Were they manly and intelligent? I'm saying this because I'm wondering how Protesilaos could narrate the story about the war that happened at Troy when he never had a chance to fight in the war to the finish.
Right.
Since he was the first person
who
to die,
got killed,
etc.
yes.
Well, but here we get into this wonderful area where if you worship a hero,
Right.
then this hero, this cult hero, will tell you things that Homeric poetry cannot tell you. And there will be a communion of consciousness that transcends the limited knowledge that you get simply from hearing about the heroes in Homeric poetry. And that's why he really needs to know what kind of relationship Sunousiā,
Right.
this Ampelourgos, has with the cult hero Protesilaos. And even the word Sunousiā is suggestive,
Right.
because in other contexts, this is a euphemistic way to say have
An
sexual
erotic
relations.
relationship. Yes, exactly.
And,
It works in Plato, for example.
It works
Yep.
in Plato and
Yep.
all over the place. So, so this is the setup for that drive to find out about the hero.